Right, good morning everyone, and thank you for joining. Like I said, I left it a couple of minutes just for a few people to join, get out of one meeting, grab a drink, and get onto the webinar. So yeah, thanks for joining this Ditch the Desk Phone webinar, where we're going to explore Microsoft Teams Voice for smarter business communications. If we can hop onto the next slide. Just a quick welcome from myself and from Holly as well. So for those who don't know me, I'm Nathan. I'm the head of sales at OryxAlign. Been at OryxAlign for 7 years, been in tech for over 20 or 22 years now. Sounds scary, it seems to absolutely fly by. Big advocate of Microsoft and Microsoft Teams, have worked with Gamma a lot. Mentioning Gamma, I'll hand over to Holly to do a quick introduction.
Thank you so much, Nathan. And yes, good morning, everyone. So to quickly introduce myself, I'm Holly Sharp and I'm a Teams Phone sales specialist at Gamma. I've been kind of working in this sort of remit for nearly 4 years now. So like to say, I know the products like the back of my hands. But yes, today what we'll be doing is we'll be kind of running through the solution. I'm going to do a quick introduction into the solution itself and kind of talk a little bit around the benefits, and then we're going to do a fireside chat.
Looking forward to it, Holly. Really looking forward to it. And yes, you do know the solution like the back of your hand. I know I quite often coming to you for tips and tricks and advice. So on that note, Holly, I'm going to hand over to you. I'll drop off the screen, let you go through the slides.
Thank you so much, Nathan. Thank you. So this section shouldn't take too long, but yes, as I said, what we're going to quickly run through is kind of going through, the Teams Phone solution and kind of how it all fits together, and then we can kind of use that as a kind of backdrop for our Q&A, so our fireside chats at the end. So to kind of kick us off a bit, OryxAlign and Gamma, we've been working together since 2013. Oryx, they've been a Microsoft Gold partner since 2017, and we've been a Microsoft kind of solution specialist in calling for Teams as well. So we're very kind of got a good kind of track record in this space. Our Teams Phone solution that we'll be kind of talking around today, called Operator Connect, has had 100% uptime since we launched the product back in 2021. So hopefully this will give you a little bit of assurance that we know what we're doing, we've got a good partnership to deliver you, and then we can kind of go for exactly what that product is now. So Teams Phone, Operator Connect, etc. All that it's doing is it's putting a dial pad on your Teams application so you can make and receive calls through that single pane of glass. So there's no requirement to download additional applications or anything like that. You can just make and receive calls through Teams. You can have Teams on up to 5 devices too. So although we've called it Ditch the Desk Phone, we're still able to bring desk phones into the solution as well. So don't feel like it's bye plastic on desks forever. There's certainly still a space for that as well. So yeah, that's essentially the solution in a nutshell. And in terms of the features and functionality that you get behind that solution, so we've got that dial pad on Teams, but what else can it do? So we can of course build in auto attendance, so press 1 for sales, press 2 for marketing. Recently Microsoft have been actually redeveloping the product in a lot of anger, so we've got new updates like callback on queues as part of the standard package. So after 2 minutes, if your callers are waiting in the queue, they can request a callback, and then once an agent is available, they can go and call that customer back. We've got other exciting features like consult and transfer. You can have music on hold for different call queues. It's kind of integrates with Outlook as well, of course, and it's really easy to present out different numbers using the platform too. So these are kind of that feature wheel is some of the basic standard features you get as part of the package, but we've also got Copilot and Teams Premium, which we can use to further enhance those features as well. So Copilot we can use, of course, to do kind of call summaries of those conversations we've had, and Teams Premium you get access to what's called the Queues app. And what this is it's a platform where you can go in and you can do call barging, call monitoring, call listening, but you can also have a nice overview of, what agents are opted in. We can opt those agents out or in, depending, and we've got some stats too, so we can see, your service level and how many times option 3 has been pressed, etc. So a nice kind of tool that we can bring on top of that Teams Phone solution using that Teams Premium license. So all those lovely features of Teams Phone, we can underpin with Operator Connect. Now, Operator Connect is a way to connect that Microsoft software, so to connect that solution that Microsoft have created into the wider kind of telephony network. So it's voice enabling that product. We can guarantee quality of service because we've got direct interconnects into the Microsoft Azure peering service, so very kind of secure access into Microsoft. We also have a stronger relationship with Microsoft through the solution as well. So we've got shared SLAs with them, and we essentially can raise tickets directly with them and kind of use our leverage as to there. And then we've also got the ability to bring in Citron Call Manager here. And what this will enable us to do is to do automatic diverts in case Teams goes down to mobiles or landlines, etc. And it also enables us to create pre-planned diverts too. So let's say there's horror upon horror, fire alarm in the office, etc. We can use Citron Call Manager to really easily divert those calls to other destinations or voicemail to email, etc. So lots of really useful bits and pieces there. Lovely. If you want more, so if you know the Teams solution, maybe there's a few gaps there, maybe you want some better reporting, we can look into bringing an additional call reporting solution where you can either have live or historic call reports that are fully customizable and you can access via a Teams little app within the Teams application. So you can access those reports directly from there or from a browser, depending on how you want to run it. Call recording as well, we can deliver to. So this is where we've got kind of a few different packages. We've got unlimited call recording storage retention on most of them. We do have a promotional license where it's 18-month retention. And as part of some of the packages as well, we can bring in call transcription, AI summaries, and sentiment and tone analysis. So lots of lovely options to kind of further enhance that solution. So that's kind of the backdrop of Teams Phone. We're now going to dive into the much awaited fireside chat. Hello again, Nathan.
Hi, Holly. Thank you. I didn't doze off, so that's good.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for that. And I know it can be difficult with Teams because so many people are used to Teams, and enabling this voice side of it is a bit of a mystery because it's, well, what do I get? But I love the fact you mentioned single pane of glass. For me, that's a big win. There's so many applications that people have to use nowadays that being able to use one that people use day to day in Teams and make that your phone system, it takes the fear away from an end user. They know Teams, they know how it works. So just gaining a dial pad and suddenly they can call out and receive calls in, it makes it simple. So yeah, Holly, we've obviously got a few conversations, subjects that we're going to go through now. Few posing questions, I suppose, that are common things that we hear with customers when we pitch Teams Voice. I've been through it since Microsoft called it Business Voice. First of all, I think was the first one, or Skype Voice even, when they tried it originally, but it's definitely a mature product since then. So first thing, it's about the product maturity really, is how does Teams Voice compare to legacy telephone systems and other VoIP providers?
It's a really good question. So quite often what we're doing is we're bringing customers off that kind of legacy solution onto Teams Voice. And there's some kind of key reasons behind this. So with Teams Phone, it enables you to kind of have that additional scalability and flexibility that you would have kind of above and beyond the kind of on-premise classic phone system. So it's a lot easier to scale up. We can add additional users or what have you really easily from within the platform. So you've got that additional scalability. And I mentioned on-premise, so the beauty of Teams as well as it's all in the cloud. So there's nothing that you need to maintain or have any sort of equipment on site, etc. So it's all, in the mysterious cloud. cloud. There's no kind of requirement to make sure that you've got the lights flashing properly or what have you. So it does make it a lot easier. And of course, because it's such a kind of big solution and because it's so popular, you've got plenty of users on there, and Microsoft Gamma as well. We've worked very hard to make sure it's as resilient as possible too. So you've got that kind of added assurance that, you know, it's going to have that reliability as well as that scalability piece too.
And I think for me, yeah, questions that we get from clients, changing phone system is scary. Yeah, because if it stops working, suddenly your business isn't getting calls anymore. So I think Teams Voice is really patch that with the remote working capabilities. You can take calls from anywhere. You can go to your mobile. I think you mentioned in the brief you can score Teams up to 5 devices. So even if your laptop fails, well, you can still get the calls through to the app on your mobile. You can still get it through to your iPad. You can still, the calls are still going to come through, and you can still make calls out. Also, one thing that I love about it is the ability of traveling abroad. You could travel abroad, you connect to the internet, and your phone is your office phone. You are phoning from the UK effectively. So you can literally work from anywhere to be able to get your calls. So I think it has a lot of pros over legacy phone systems. I think it struggled in the early days with a few of the add-ins and a few of the features. Microsoft had to catch up quite quickly to what a traditional PBX would do, but I think they've not only got there but surpassed what a lot of traditional phone systems can do.
I completely agree.
On to the next piece, real world use cases. And I think this is a really good subject because Microsoft are fantastic with their marketing and really good at pushing things out. We see it all the time. Microsoft come out and say, oh, this new tool, this is great, this can do this, this, and this. But as an MSP and as a client, it's is it being used in the real world? Does it work for an SME? Does it work for enterprise? What are Gamma seeing on this from a scalability point, and are people adopting it?
Yeah, it is a really good question. So I think what we find quite interesting about what we can see from our point of view is it really ranges in terms of size and customer type. So the only kind of common denominator, if you will, is that people that are using Teams Phone are already kind of using Teams for their communication and collaboration. So we've got like customers with like one user, and we've got other customers with tens of thousands of users. So it really can kind of fit anywhere in between. So it's quite an interesting product in that sense that it can just slot in anywhere. But in terms of kind of actual kind of use cases, we're seeing quite a lot of popularity with like professional services, etc., where security can be quite a key consideration for them, or they've made quite a big investment in that Teams environment and that Microsoft environment. So they're moving away from your classic telephony kind of legacy infrastructure onto Teams Phone because it's such an easy shift, because they've already got that kind of understanding of that platform, how it works, that familiarity with how to make a call to a colleague, etc. And it's nice and easy to kind of upskill people into making Teams phone calls because, again, it's that same experience. Once you know how to make a Teams call, you're ready to go, basically.
No, definitely. Like you said, everyone's used to Teams in some shape or form, whether you use it in-house or whether you work with other businesses. Everyone knows Zoom, everyone knows Team, everyone knows WebEx. We're all used to being invited to meetings from different companies with these things, and sending a meeting and answering a call. It's pretty similar. So people are used to that. So the adoption side is good. I think from our side, what we're seeing from our customers is there's an appetite to look at Teams Voice. And maybe sometimes there's not that trust as Microsoft as a telecoms provider. But I suppose it's taking that layer away that, like you've said, you're already using them for communication. So they're already a comms provider for you without you even realizing that probably your main comms that's happening in your business is instant messaging over Teams chat. So, why you wouldn't take them to the next level? It's it is a trust thing that we see, but as you've mentioned, the guaranteed uptimes that Microsoft can provide and those sorts of things is well beyond what traditional telcos can offer. During that, actually, you mentioned, the move and making the switch to two
Yes.
teams. And I think I mentioned earlier, it's changing phone system's a big thing for any customer, yeah, any business. Changing your phone system is scary. So, migration essentials. What is involved in making a switch if someone says, I want to move to Teams?
Mm, yeah, I think like it is very much proof is in the planning. So it's kind of understanding exactly what you're using at the minute. So working out, what numbers you've got, which are kind of business critical, where they're sitting, so we can ascertain how best to bring them across onto the platform. And we can kind of look at the kind of lead times associated with that as well. It's also understanding what sort of like legacy infrastructure you might have. So, for example, like fax or lift lines, etc., and how best we can approach that. And then once we've got a good plan in place and we're working out, we'll have this kind of auto attendant where it will route, where you press one, it will route to this group of people to answer that phone, etc. Once we've got that all planned out, we can kind of work on actually kind of getting it migrated across. We can build out the solution for a few users. They can do a bit of testing. We can then look at porting those numbers across onto the platform. There will be a little bit of downtime in that process, but it won't be kind of excessive by any stretch of the imagination. And if you are really concerned about that downtime, there are, of course, options to do it out of hours too. So we've got a professional services team as well as Oryx that can kind of help handhold you through that process too. So yeah, don't stress about it. Oryx and Gamma will kind of help you with that process. We know what we're doing.
And I suppose that's it. We've been there, we've done it, and
Yeah.
even personally, I've been there and moved clients not to Teams Voice, but traditionally to older phone systems, and that was a lot more painful.
Yeah.
My biggest pro with Teams Voice is the ability to build the whole phone system before you need to use it, to allocate temporary numbers to it so that you can phone into it, you can test it end to end, you can see the experience your customers are going to get on the new phone system before you move the number. And then you move the number, you know what's going to happen because you've had the time to test it. Whereas some legacy phone systems, you can't do that. You're building it ready, but you can't fully test it end to end. You're waiting for the number to come across. Then when it comes across, you're frantically panicking almost, trying to test it before customers are phoning in. So it definitely has an advantage with the switch and making it seamless then as well. And I suppose as part of the switch, end users. End users will be used to whatever phone system they have. It could be a desk phone, it could be another app which they're used to, it could be a web app they're used to. But as far as a learning curve for end users switching, what are Gamma seeing? Is there much coming through from support for end users, as they move from the traditional phone to Teams Voice, or is it seemed as pretty seamless?
It does. I mean, of course, you always have that kind of couple of people who they have the phone system they've used for 20 years and they can't imagine life without it. So it's always a bit of a learning curve for certain individuals. But I think, again, it's kind of linking back to the fact that if you've used Teams, it's a very simple process from moving. It's kind of reframing your logic in a way and going, oh, my phone system's now through Teams. It's like chatting with my colleagues, but bringing that externally as well. So it's that sort of kind of culture shift, I think. But that being said, there's lots of tools out there to try and almost replicate what people experience normally. So that kind of classic telephony infrastructure, that classic telephony feel, busy lamp fields, etc. We can look at kind of making that transition as smooth as possible by bringing in, handsets or like kind of attendant console type things, etc., to try and make sure that that transition is as smooth as possible. But yeah, absolutely, it's an interesting point for sure, but you'd be surprised how quickly people pick it up. It's crazy. Like, you'll have some people who are like, no, I'm stuck in my ways, and then they bring on Teams phone and right, oh, actually it kind of makes sense to me now.
Yeah, and sometimes they're like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, this thing that used to take me this long is now easier. I can do in one click,
Yeah.
and those sorts of things. And I think people fear change. I think we MSPs, we deal with the change all the time within clients, and I think it's all about the planning of it, as you've mentioned previously. And quite a lot of the time through our deployments, be it Teams Voice or something else, we do a user adoption piece to make sure that users know what to expect. They know how to what's going to happen during migration and how they can use the system going forward. And then it's about aligning champions for the solution as well. Yeah, I think most businesses have got someone, be it an IT person, sometimes it's a receptionist or someone who knows the phone system well, who will be, oh, this call queue needs changing, and they're the go-to person. And they're the person that needs to know how that change is going to now happen, because the way they used to do it is totally gone. So I think, like you've mentioned, different levels of people will have a different learning curve. A standard end user who makes and receives calls, their learning curve's pretty quick. It's well, my calls used to come into here and now they come into there. Conceptually, even when I first moved to a VoIP phone system, I found it weird that hang on, my phone calls are coming in on my computer now, not on the phone on the desk. So there is that kind of shift in mentality, but once you get over that, it's so much quicker and easier. One question that we get asked with every solution that we offer, because I think if businesses weren't asking this, and if we weren't asking this when we were looking at solutions, it would be not for benefit for anyone. So how does Teams Voice stack up when it comes to security and reliability and compliance as well?
It's a really good point. So there's obviously lots of elements to that question. I think with the kind of reliability piece, Teams, it's with Operator Connect. We kind of mentioned a little bit around this earlier with the kind of shared SLAs with Microsoft and all this, and the direct interconnects into that Microsoft kind of network. That is very much a secure and reliable interconnect, so we can actually kind of guarantee quality of service through that infrastructure. We also have what we call load balanced SBCs. So what that actually means is we've got lots of kind of SBCs, which are stand for session border controllers. I'm going to far too much detail here, but they're essentially kind of allowing that traffic to pass through, and we've got essentially loads of these dotted around the country. So if one were to go down, or two, or even three, or for example, we were able to still pass that traffic through because we've made that infrastructure as resilient as we possibly can, because we completely understand that for a lot of people, their phone system, it's their bread and butter. It's what kind of brings in the dough.
It is. It really is. And from a reliability point, Microsoft people will know they can be as reliable as they can be, but there's always going to be something. They're one of the only ones that will give a 99.95 or 99.9% uptime on all services that they offer. But I think a lot of people have heard of Microsoft, and many clients of ours won't have heard of Gamma, because Gamma are channel only, mainly focused on MSPs, etc. So we've got a working relationship, as you've mentioned, with Gamma, have had for a long time. I know Oryx since 2013, myself through previous companies as well. That Gamma have always been the backbone. I know you've run other more traditional phone systems for a long time, and the main advantage of them was always about your network and your uptime and that sort of thing, the reliability of it.
Absolutely.
And in that part as well, the security and compliance mentioned, and again, we get asked this with phone systems, we get asked it with any application-based software. I mean, Microsoft are probably the biggest security company in the world now. They sell more security than most people. They've got so many security solutions. thermostat and Microsoft have never been directly breached. And when you think the size of them, indirectly, yes, Microsoft have had a breach, but a direct breach into Microsoft core systems has never happened. So they take security first. That's prominent across every application. And from a compliance point, with phone systems, I think it always just depends on the compliance. Yeah, it depends on what you need to do, but the advantage of moving to Teams Voice is that you can have add-ons to support the compliance. So if Teams Voice won't support the compliance out of the box, you can look at, like you've mentioned, the call recording. So you get the extra features, you get the retention that you need to adhere to your compliance and prove that you're doing it. So Microsoft is always tick many boxes. Yeah, it's not perfect, we all know that, but it can have a very good use case across a lot of compliance protocols. Another one that we face quite often is phone systems are quite often hooked into several other systems. So out of the box, yeah, integration from Microsoft Teams Voice, is it used to dealing with CRMs, ERPs, third-party call center software, those sorts of things? What's your view on that, Holly?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it kind of harks back to the point that because Microsoft and Microsoft Teams is such a popular way to to do voice, it means that every man and his dog wants to integrate. So it's a nice place to be, basically. So you've got a ream of contact centers which integrate with Microsoft Teams. And the beauty of it is with Operator Connect, of course, you're connecting into that Microsoft network. And once you've kind of connected into that Microsoft piece, we can plug in additional services, a little bit like the call recording and call reporting element. So we can bring in those contact center solutions and integrate that into Teams. And then you've got that kind of more coherent feel to the phone system. With CRMs too, so Microsoft have been doing some work to improve the kind of integration level that you can get with CRMs out the box as well. So if you've got quite an unpopular or maybe a niche CRM for your kind of sector or what have you, with Teams and Teams Phone, they've got what's called like a URL pop-up. So you can make it so certain users, when they receive an inbound call, it will pop up your CRM and it will add at the end of that URL the number that's calling, so it can pop up the record, and that just comes as standard of the package. So it's really built with that mindset of, you know, we need to think about what other services are going to be kind of used alongside Teams and how we can make it easier for companies to kind of bring in those additional pieces.
Yeah, Holly, that's great. And yeah, I definitely think this is an area where Microsoft excel. Because of the size of Microsoft, every system wants to talk to Microsoft. Whereas another phone solution, not everyone will know about it. So the demand isn't there. Whereas with Teams and Voice, it will be huge. You know, the amount of applications that it can integrate with, and yeah, just more will come. I know that Microsoft, I think early days, this was probably a bit they lacked. But the development cycle on Microsoft and Teams Voice, you know, I can remember the days when they were releasing 300 updates a month, sort of thing. It was, yeah, and it's not uncommon for Microsoft to be releasing that many updates, that many things to be able to move it forward. The next one, I mean, it wouldn't be a chat in IT nowadays if we didn't mention the buzzword that is AI. So yeah, AI, is it being used in Teams Voice today? If not, or if it is, and you're not, what's next? Do you know?
Absolutely. So I guess when we say Teams Voice, we're looking at both the kind of Teams platform itself, so what Microsoft deliver in terms of AI, and that would include like Teams Premium and Copilot. Those are the two kind of key solutions that integrate quite nicely with that Teams phone experience. But also kind of outside of that, those additional services that we were talking around, like call recording, call reporting, contact centers, etc. They're also using quite a bit of AI. So it's not just looking at, you know, Teams specifically, it's looking at the wider remit that surrounds that as well. So I mean, talking specifically around Teams Premium and Copilot, Copilot is a massive kind of thing at the moment, and Microsoft are really pushing it, talking around Microsoft advertising. But yeah, with that piece, you know, you've got clever things like when you're on a phone to a customer and they've kind of listed off all their complaints, you're going, oh gosh, I've got to transfer this to the support team, and this poor customer's got to repeat everything they've said to me. That's not an issue with Copilot. You can get that summary, and when you transfer that call over, that agent has now got exactly what they're experiencing. And that, again, gives that additional enhancement, that additional customer experience that you'd kind of want to deliver. With Teams Premium, we briefly covered it in the kind of backdrop of this Q&A, but that kind of Queues app where you've got the kind of additional functionality, but also Teams Premium with the Teams meetings, you can have AI summaries. It will automatically register, you know, when what actions you've got to do, which can be a bit of a pain if you want to kind of hide away from them, but still really useful.
Yeah,
So yeah.
And I will go, you know, sorry to cut across you there, but you know, the teams meeting summaries, I think they're fantastic. The action points they pick up, but it does remind you of everything you've committed to in that meeting sometimes. And yeah, and you're looking at the end and go, oh damn, I did say all of that, and everyone's going to see this because it's all written down there. So it is really good, and I think AI, yeah, is such a buzz. It has been for probably the last 18 months, coming up 2 years now. Copilot is being pushed massively by Microsoft, as you mentioned. You know, you can't even buy a laptop now without them mentioning Copilot. You know, this is a Copilot PC. It's everywhere. But I think there's got to be a user case with phone systems. There is, and as Microsoft continue to develop AI, they will find more user cases where there can be time savings, etc., through the use of AI. So it's just going to develop more and more. And again, with Microsoft's size, with their development power, they're going to be the ones that are going to be leading this sort of approach to phone systems. Last one for us to cover in the fireside chat. We named this "Ditch the Desk Phone." You already mentioned it during your summary at the start that people don't really want to ditch the desk phone, but there is a use case for getting rid of phones, but there's also a use case for keeping a phone on the desk. Sorry, where traditional one that we hear of is a receptionist in an office building or an office. They're used to a big phone, they're used to a big extension dial pad, where they can multiple lamp lights and all these sorts of features that they are used to, and that's how their phone works. So is the hardware available through Microsoft, and what's it like?
Really good point. So there are a lot of options for Teams. Kind of the best ones would be Teams certified devices. So these are kind of the most they've got the most features and they integrate best with Teams. But you've got desk phones with sidecars, so you can have that kind of similar experience that you might kind of normally have with that receptionist desk phone as well. And you can set them up in different ways too. So you can have devices that are kind of almost more like hot desking devices where you can kind of log in once you've sat in the office. If you're like more of a work from home user that only comes into the office a few times a week or once a month or something, then you're able to use it that way. We've also got kind of common area devices, and that's kind of more like anyone can just kind of go up to the phone and make a call, or maybe it's a receptionist phone that receptionists will come in and then they can just make and receive calls from that device and then go home, and then maybe they're switching over lunch or something, and it's a lot easier to manage if it's just ready to use by anyone.
That's great, and it is again, I think I first looked at what again was called business voice through Microsoft originally. I looked at this years ago, 4 or 5 years ago must have been, and the hardware was a limitation. But now they've really got the backing of what are the leading providers in hardware, your likes of Polycom, Yealink, there is a vast range that are available. And again, I think you can buy through provider, but you can also go and buy off the shelf Team certified device, plug it in, few details, and you're on your phone system. It's not that complicated to set up a phone, whereas with a legacy phone system, it can be a lot more difficult to provision phone systems.
Absolutely.
Holly, we've reached the end of the fireside chat bit.
It's just getting cozy.
It was getting cozy, and that image that you put there, I've been sat looking at it with these flames and hot chocolates, and I mean, I know we've had a really hot week here, but even that looks very tempting at the moment. So, thank you so much, Holly.
Thank you.
Holly, if you could just flick onto the next slide, we're just going to move into the Q&A, and I know we've had some questions come through. One is about integration, and is HubSpot one of the solutions that it can integrate with?
So yeah, this is a really key point. So there's what we'll basically need to ascertain. So HubSpot will have some element of integration with Teams. So this will be kind of looking at the Teams channel element, etc. And then we can use the URL pop-up as well to further enhance that. So I must say, I haven't looked at it for about a month or something, so my memory's a little bit hazy, but there is definitely something we can do there. There's definitely some sort of element of integration where we can bring in Teams into that solution and kind of make it as seamless as possible. So yes, but it's as to kind of what those features are. And oh yeah, another quick point to quickly mention as well, we can do kind of click to dial with Teams too, so we can have that kind of similar feeling where if you're in that HubSpot record, we can kind of click those DDIs and make those calls from that platform. So yeah, there will be an element of integration certainly with that HubSpot piece.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's HubSpot's huge, as is Microsoft. So it's definitely one that I know there is some form of integration, but like you say, every platform was built slightly differently. So you might not get every single feature, but the standards that you would probably like that you've just mentioned is the ability for a record to pop up when someone phones in, so that it's saving people time and people know who it is, and the click to dial. Those are like the basic ones, and if you can get those, it really does save a lot of time and effort. So that's great. Thank you very much for that question coming through. And the next question, I like this one. It's a really good one. We get asked this one a lot. It's about Microsoft licensing, which can be its own minefield. To use Teams Voice as a proper phone system, what licensing do companies require from Microsoft to be able to do it?
Absolutely. So we will of course need Teams. So this will be either as part of your kind of Microsoft Office 365 license or your or your kind of like base license package or Teams Essentials. So we'll need to make sure we've got Teams. If you've got it, then we don't need to worry for that element. But the key license we will definitely need to get up and running is called the Teams Phone Standard License. So this is paying for that setup, so that dial pad on your Teams app, those call queues, those auto attendants, etc. That's paying for all that lovely work that Microsoft have kind of pumped in. So yeah, Teams Phone Standard License is the one you need.
That's the one you need, and you only need that license for users that are going to use the phone system.
Correct.
Which I think is great, because sometimes as a business you can have 300 users, but you've got people on the shop floor, etc. People in the workshops that don't need a phone. They need a Microsoft license for email, etc. But they're not going to be on the phone system ever. So you get the choice to only voice enable the users that are actually going to use the phone system. So again, a really nice feature. But yeah, definitely that Microsoft standard voice license is the key to unlocking it. This one, I think we've covered this already, but it's come through anyway. So a concern, will I lose my number when I move to Teams? which is definitely a concern for anyone changing phone system.
Yeah, absolutely. So you won't. We could work together to bring that number across. So Gamma, we like to pride ourselves in our porting team, and we'll work together with Oryx and yourself as well to bring those numbers across, no matter where those numbers are sitting. So, you know, some ports take longer than others, and that will just be in terms of like lead time. So we'll need a few weeks notice maybe if it's if you haven't got a porting agreement with that provider. But to be honest, that's really rare. Often, you know, we're sticking with kind of standard SLAs with, well, we'll just need a kind of few weeks notice sort of thing. But yeah, absolutely, we can bring it across no problem. It's not an issue. We just need to make sure we've got updated postcodes basically, so the postcodes are correct and accurate, and then we can bring those numbers over.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I know it's a concern, but it is the lifeblood of a phone system, isn't it? It's that number that people phone in on, so I can see why people would have that concern. Next one is how are calls charged, which is an interesting one because obviously you move into a different type of phone system. You worry about what the overall cost is going to be. You know the standard license you're going to be paying, but obviously Microsoft aren't going to give you everything for free from that point on. So yeah, are there bundled minutes? Are they aggregated across all users? Do they expire? You know, all this, but it's a minefield. But as a quick summary, Holly, how do they charge for calls?
Of course. So we've got bundled minutes for both mobile and landline numbers. So for each user, they get access to 2,000 geo minutes and then 2,000 mobile minutes. It is aggregated across that endpoint, so across that company. So we've got 10 users. That's 20,000 geo, 20,000 mobile that everyone can kind of tap into.
Brilliant. And I think that's a really, again, I know there are other phone systems that do this, but having it aggregated across, because you will have some users that don't use phone a lot, and then you'll have others that are doing a lot of outbound. So being able to aggregate that across everyone. And then I suppose it's just down to picking different bundles, packages, which are going to work for the users. Next one is an interesting one as well. You know, toll-free numbers and service numbers, are they supported?
Really good question. So you might remember at the very start of the session, I mentioned something called Citron Call Manager. So what this platform allows us to do is to actually host those O3 and O8 numbers on the service. So you can have them sitting as your main number or a call queue number or what have you, and we can have them directly on the platform. So we can host those O3 and O8 numbers on there as part of the solution. So yes, simple answer.
Yes, it can. Simple answer is yes, it can. It can deal with it. And again, it's another great feature that we can just bring it all into one system. And I got, oh, there's one more come through, which is who manages the phone system? Is it IT or can some administration be delegated to non-technical staff?
So yeah, it's a really good point. There's the beauty of it, and what I quite like what Microsoft have done is you can kind of decide who has the ability to go in and make changes. So for example, you can get Oryx basically to do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where we can go in and, you know, build the call queues and the auto attendants and manage that for you. Or we can give certain users, like maybe like heads of teams or what have you, the ability to go in and make quick changes to their call queue or their auto attendant. Or we can give rights to IT people within the business that can go into that admin center and make changes too. So it can be very flexible in terms of, you know, who you want to give access and what access you want to give them in terms of managing that solution.
And it really can. You know, we see this, and thank you for mentioning we can manage it because we do for many clients. So yes, we can look after the whole thing for everyone, and sometimes it is a, just changing a call queue, adding a user to it, etc., etc. Or it can be we're delegating some of those down because the business want to make lots of changes and they want to be in control of it themselves. So that can all be controlled through permissions. So you can make sure that that user can only edit the call groups that they're meant to, and can't just suddenly go in and make a change that's going to stop the whole call routing go off track, which can be easy to do when the admin console is pretty straightforward in what it's going to do. So, Holly, we have reached the end of all the questions. I'm just going to double check, and there was some come through on chat and some come through on questions. I've gone through all the questions. I've gone through all the chat ones. So, yeah, that's all the Q&A. So thanks everyone for your interaction there. That was really useful and kept Holly and myself on our toes, which is always good. Next one I just want to mention is OryxAlign are running our next cyber business breakfast event on September 25th. Venues to be confirmed at the moment. We're just firming everything up, but definitely a date for the diaries. Get that one saved. We will send out invitations to everyone that attends this. It will be focused on cyber as our business breakfasts are. The next one is going to be looking at Microsoft. So it's relevant for Teams as well, and about protection for Microsoft on top of your standard user protection. And last slide is a thank you. Firstly, thanks, Holly. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your input in this. You are definitely the technical expert. I know that myself because I come to you with a lot of questions, as I've mentioned. So thank you very much for your time on this. And for attendees, thank you very much for giving up your time. I know everyone's always busy with work, lots going on. So to carve out some time to listen to myself and Holly have a chat about Teams Voice, I hope you found it useful. If you have got any other questions, think of anything else. Obviously, if you're an Oryx client, reach out to your account managers or reach out to myself direct. I'm more than happy to answer any questions, or probably lean on Holly to answer the questions, and come back to you with anything. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Lovely rest of your days.
Yeah, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.